See, I'm not one of these people who's worried about everything.
Well, people who owe my grandmother worried about getting pistol whipped.
There's a storm raging over solar energy in the U.S., and Joe Biden is at the center of it.
The health of our citizens and our communities is literally at stake.
The U.S. president has pledged to slash greenhouse gas emissions, and switching American homes and industries to solar power is a major part of the plan.
And California say they finna switch to all electrical cars by the year 2035. I guess I gotta start saving my donations.
The UN's leading international climate scientists call the latest climate report nothing less than, quote, code red for humanity. Let me say it again. Code red for humanity.
Because Joe Biden came back to make sure he continue fucking it up again.
These are not a group of political officials, elected officials. These are the scientists.
Scientists? Your scientists? I'd rather listen to comedians.
You got people like this around you. Country's full of them now. People walking around all day long, every minute of the day, worried about everything.
You want to tell people that their concern and their desire for clean air and clean water
Worried about the air, worried about the water, worried about the soil.
is elitist? Tell that to the kids in the South Bronx, which are suffering from the highest rates of childhood asthma in the country.
Worried about insecticides, pesticides, food additives, carcinogens.
That bitch Alexandria Cortez said it's a national emergency, not a human emergency. I guess nature is more important than kids getting shot.
Tell that to the families in Flint whose kids have their blood is ascending in lead levels. Their brains are damaged for the rest of their lives. Call them elitists.
I'd rather call them elitists than gunshot victims. The liberals are more worried about nature than they are humans.
So tremendous amount of fumes and everything. You talk about the carbon footprint. Fumes are spewing into the air, right? Spewing.
Worried about radon gas.
Whether it's in China, Germany, it's going into the air, it's our air, their air, everything, right?
Worried about asbestos. Worried about saving endangered species.
They're noisy. They kill the birds.
Let me tell you about endangered species, all right? Saving endangered species is just one more arrogant attempt by humans to control nature. It's arrogant meddling. It's what got us in trouble in the first place.
You want to see a bird graveyard? You just go. Take a look. A bird graveyard? Go under a windmill someday.
Doesn't anybody understand that? Interfering with nature.
You'll see more birds than you've ever seen ever in your life.
Over 90%, way over 90% of all the species that have ever lived on this planet, are gone. Whoosh. They're extinct.
I'm just waiting on my baby mama to join that list.
You know, in California, they were killing the bald eagle. If you shoot a bald eagle, they want to put you in jail for 10 years.
We didn't kill them all. They just disappeared.
A windmill will kill many bald eagles. It's true.
That's what nature does. They disappear these days at the rate of 25 a day.
When my grandmother is drunk, that's the same number of Bloods who would disappear.
And I mean regardless of our behavior, irrespective of how we act on this planet, 25 species that were here today will be gone tomorrow.
And you know what? After a certain number, they make you turn the windmill off. That's true, by the way. They make you turn it off.
Let them go gracefully. Leave nature alone.
And yet, if you killed one, they put you in jail. That's okay. But why is it okay for these windmills to destroy the bird population? And that's what they're doing.
Haven't we done enough? We're so self-important. So self-important. Everybody's going to save something now.
Bandit, I know more about wind than you do. It's extremely expensive, kills all the birds.
Save the trees, save the bees, save the whales, save those snails. And the greatest arrogance of all, save the planet.
But don't save the monkeys. Let them go extinct.
So we can't save the world by playing by the rules, because the rules have to be changed.
The Democrats not just not playing by the rules, they also making up the rules. Next! Like Joe Biden is making up people who he's talking to.
One of the things I've found out as the President of the United States, I get to spend a lot of that money. I get to decide where, no, I'm not joking.
Who in the hell is Joe Biden talking to?
And we're going to completely, I'm going to start the process for every vehicle in the United States military.
Hey, Joe, the camera is this way. You know what? Never mind. Next!
Everything needs to change.
What? Are these fucking people kidding me?
And why should I be studying for a future that soon will be no more, when no one is doing anything whatsoever to save that future?
Save the planet? We don't even know how to take care of ourselves yet. We haven't learned how to care for one another. We're gonna save the fucking planet?
And what is the point of learning facts within the school system, when the most important facts given by the finer science of that same school system clearly means nothing to our politicians and our society?
I'm getting tired of that shit. Tired of that shit. Tired.
And I'm tired of that bitch too. I can't call her a bitch. I mean, she is 18, ain't she?
I'm tired of fucking Earth Day.
Well, Joe Biden loved Earth Day.
2 years ago, millions of Americans of every age and background rallied together on Earth Day.
Joe Biden celebrate Earth Day like no other president.
Let's talk about how Joe Biden marked his Earth Day. He flew all the way across the United States to Seattle. Don't worry, I'm sure he offset the miles on the Air Force One carbon offset program.
Yeah, like I'm sure the extra lump on my baby mama's stomach is a third titty. Next!
I'm tired of these self-righteous environmentalists, these white bourgeois liberals who think the only thing wrong with this country is there aren't enough bicycle paths.
Or bicycle foot straps.
It happened just as the president and first lady were wrapping up a morning bike ride. Secret Service agents helped him up off the ground. The president said he was, quote, good.
Hey, Mr. President. Oh, I'm good. Yeah. Keep up the good work. I keep on taking these things off.
Maybe you should try training wheels.
Mr. President, how are you feeling? How are you feeling, sir? Good.
Just like a damn retard.
People trying to make the world safe for their Volvos.
And it's Tesla now. Now they updated.
Gas prices are on the rise, so you're thinking an electric car or hybrid could be the answer.
Secretary Buttigieg, I've been driving an electric car for 10 years, and I've had solar panels for 15 years, and I'm really bullish on technology and the way it could help make our country energy independent.
But you might want to be aware of extra fees that some owners say are unfair.
But I'm really alarmed at sort of the naivete of those who are promoting rapid adoption of these technologies with our existing infrastructure.
The Biden administration is selling American dreams with cars, energy, and jobs.
So which uses more electricity? We're talking about residential electricity here. A refrigerator when it's running or an electric car when it's charging in your garage?
Or a PlayStation 7 in your living room.
I would expect a car.
Would you say it uses twice as much or 25 times as much?
How in the fuck he know?
I would think closer to 25 times as much. Yeah.
It's actually 50 at the instantaneous moment.
You dumb son of a bitch. Next! The battery and the charging piles for these EV cars gonna be a problem.
Dave Gilbert feels he's doing the right thing, driving a hybrid Camry to save gas and the environment.
Right now, I'm averaging 35.1 miles per gallon.
So he feels it's a slap in the face that his state is about to slap him with a $70 annual surcharge for driving a hybrid car.
Over the course of a year, an American household would use 25 times as much electricity for their electric car as they would for their refrigerator.
It's going to take more energy to run it than anything in your damn house. And it's going to cost more than anything in your damn house.
And as I read this, they find out that they're going to, in essence, double the registration fee on my 12-year-old Toyota Camry hybrid.
Do you think it would strain the grid if everybody plugged in 25 refrigerators in every household?
At least he's not driving a Tesla. Electric car owners are facing a $150 annual fee.
Well, if we didn't make any upgrades to the grid, sure. I mean, if we had yesterday's grid with tomorrow's cars, it's not going to work.
Nigga, we don't even have yesterday's grid ready for today. Next! Next.
30 states are now hitting hybrid and electric owners with extra fees, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures, NCSL.
So even if you do got an EV, you're going to have to pay fines disguised as taxes.
Another dozen states are considering adding these fees to make up for money they say they're losing from gasoline taxes.
So you're going to pay for gas even though you don't use it.
Problem is, we don't have the capacity to produce that energy. You aptly use the word need. You could say want as well. There's needs and wants to make this fantasy work by 2030. But the reality is the capability is not going to be there.
That plan sounds like a bunch of bullshit.
Now, some states are doing more than just adding an extra tax at renewal time. They're also adding a small fee on the electricity charge at public charging stations.
And more money if you charge it at home.
They're going to start charging an excise tax on the electricity if you use these charging stations.
If that average household plugged in electric cars, do you know how much more electricity they would use in comparison to the air conditioning that air conditions their whole house?
And a lot of poor families can't afford a damn air conditioning, let alone an EV.
No, but again, I would emphasize it will
Well, let me help
less
you. Let me help you
overall.
with that first before we go on, because the numbers are important. It would take 4 times as much electricity to charge the average household's cars as the average household uses on air conditioning.
So if poor people can't pay for air conditioning, how in the hell are they going to pay for a Tesla?
The director of transportation of one state charging these fees, Ohio, says it's all about everyone helping maintain the state's roadways.
Even though they force you to get rid of your gas car.
Up until this point, if you were driving an EV or a hybrid, to the extent that you were not using gasoline, you were not helping support the system upon which you depend.
And that makes no fucking sense.
But Consumer Reports says these fees are more than what the average driver of a gas car pays in gas taxes, and worries the new fees will discourage people from buying fuel-saving cars.
And that makes perfect fucking sense.
We want to maintain the roads, but we want to do it fairly, and this tax is just the wrong way to do it.
Yeah, your ass is getting penalized for trying to help the earth. Ain't that a bitch?
The average household would use twice as much electricity charging one of their cars as they would use for all of the air conditioning that they use for the entire year. Do you think this could contribute to rolling blackouts and brownouts in areas of the country where air conditioning is basically considered essential?
Places like California that got rolling blackouts and scheduled blackouts. Next! California got more blackouts than Donald Trump got affidavits.
Not if we prepare. Look, the fact that people who have electric vehicles are going to use more electricity can't be a reason to give up.
My broke ass got to give up on electrical vehicles like your ass gave up on any kind of pussy.
Besides, environmentalists don't give a shit about the planet. They don't care about the planet. Not in the abstract, they don't. Not in the abstract, they don't. You know what they're interested in? A clean place to live.
Well, tell them don't rent a room over my baby mama house.
Their own habitat. They're worried that someday in the future they might be personally inconvenienced. Narrow, unenlightened self-interest doesn't impress me. Besides, there is nothing wrong with the planet. Nothing wrong with the planet. The planet is fine.
Just take a look around. Right now, 100 million Americans are under heat alert. 100 million Americans.
The people are fucked. Difference.
You know, our natural wonders inspire, and the reflection inspires our to take action.
Difference. The planet is fine. Compared to the people, the planet is doing great.
According to liberals, it's going to be gone in 10 years.
This crisis impacts every aspect of our everyday life. That's why today I'm making the largest investment ever, $2.3 billion, to help communities across the country build infrastructure that's designed to withstand the full range of disasters we've been seeing up to today.
It's been here 4.5 billion years. Did you ever think about the arithmetic? Planet has been here 4.5 billion years. We've been here, what, 100,000? Maybe 200,000?
And I hope my baby mama won't make it another day.
And we've only been engaged in heavy industry for a little over 200 years. 200 years versus 4.5 billion.
Google couldn't even divide them damn numbers.
And we have the conceit to think that somehow we're a threat? That somehow we're going to put in jeopardy this beautiful little blue-green ball that's just a-floating around the sun?
We probably more dumber than we look.
The planet has been through a lot worse than us. Been through all kinds of things worse than us.
Ask the dinosaurs.
Been through earthquakes, volcanoes, plate tectonics, continental drift, solar flares, sunspots, magnetic storms, the magnetic reversal of the poles, hundreds of thousands of years of bombardment by comets and asteroids and meteors, worldwide floods, tidal waves, worldwide fires, erosion, cosmic rays, recurring ice ages, and we think some plastic bags and some aluminum cans are going to make a difference?
Don't forget Joe Biden crack pipes.
The planet isn't going anywhere.
And history proves that.
We are. We're going away.
And the future will also prove that.
Pack your shit, folks. We're going away.
Yeah, pack your shit, but you can't take none of it with you.
And we won't leave much of a trace either. Thank God for that. Maybe a little styrofoam. Maybe.
I hope my baby mama get transferred into some grass so she can get eaten by a bull so she can come out as bullshit.
Little styrofoam. Planet will be here and we'll be long gone. Just another failed mutation. Just another closed-end biological mistake. An evolutionary cul-de-sac. The planet will shake us off like a bad case of fleas.
Or in Hunter Biden's case, a bad case of the shakes. Period.
A surface nuisance.
A crack pipe hit.
You want to know how the planet's doing? Ask those people at Pompeii who are frozen into position from volcanic ash how the planet's doing.
They couldn't tell you, but the planet is still here.
Want to know if the planet's all right? Ask those people in Mexico City or Armenia or 100 other places buried under thousands of tons of earthquake rubble if they feel like a threat to the planet this week.
Or next week, for that matter.
How about those people in Kilauea, Hawaii, who build their homes right next to an active volcano and then wonder why they have lava in the living room? The planet will be here for a long, long, long time after we're gone, and it will heal itself, it will cleanse itself, because that's what it does. It's a self-correcting system.
And Mother Nature and artificial intelligence will wipe out the human race.
The air and the water will recover, the earth will be renewed, and if it's true that plastic is not degradable, well, the planet will simply incorporate plastic into a new paradigm, the earth plus plastic.
We also had to take on the climate deniers.
The earth doesn't share our prejudice towards plastic. Plastic came out of the earth. The earth probably sees plastic as just another one of its children. Could be the only reason the earth allowed us to be spawned from it in the first place. It wanted plastic for itself. Didn't know how to make it. Needed us.
And guess what? We beat them. We beat them.
Could be the answer to our age-old philosophical question, why are we here? Plastic. Assholes.
For decades, these climate deniers blocked any meaningful progress in dealing with climate crisis.
So, the plastic is here, our job is done, we can be phased out now, and I think that's really started already, don't you?
But not this year. This year, the American people won, and the climate deniers lost.
And taxpayers is going to eventually take up that bill.
I mean, to be fair, the planet probably sees us as a mild threat, something to be dealt with, and I'm sure the planet will defend itself in the manner of a large organism, like a beehive or an ant colony can muster a defense. I'm sure the planet will think of something. What would you do if you were the planet trying to defend against this pesky, troublesome species? Let's see.
And maybe that's a question you should ask China.
What might... viruses. Viruses might be good. They seem vulnerable to viruses. And viruses are tricky, always mutating and forming new strains whenever a vaccine is developed.
Yeah, after the Trump juice was invented, it was Wuhan Meat Market 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Perhaps this first virus could be one that compromises the immune system of these creatures. Perhaps a human immunodeficiency virus, making them vulnerable to all sorts of other diseases and infections that might come along. And maybe it could be spread sexually, making them a little reluctant to engage in the act of reproduction.
Or gay butt sex for monkeypox.
Well, that's a poetic note, and it's a start. And I can dream, can't I?
Don't ask me, ask China that question, okay? When you ask them that question, you may get a very unusual answer.
See, I don't worry about the little things. Bees, trees, whales, snails. I think we're part of a greater wisdom than we will ever understand.
And consequently, we're taking the most aggressive action to confront climate crisis ever. $368 billion.
A higher order. Call it what you want. Know what I call it? The big electron.
Joe Biden calls it a big fucking deal.
The big electron. Whoa. Whoa. Whoa.
Waiting to swallow up humanity.
It doesn't punish. It doesn't judge at all. It just is. And so are we. For a little while.
And them damn solar panels Joe Biden is talking about ain't gonna solve shit. Next! Because we already been here before.
The solar industry's challenges are getting a lot of attention with the recent collapse of Solyndra, the California solar panel maker backed by the Obama administration and touted as a potential game changer.
It changed the game, all right. It shut down the whole damn industry.
The solar industry boasts that it's growing fast, installing rooftop panels that turn sunlight into electricity at a record pace.
How did that shit work out?
This year, it expects to create enough electricity to power 350,000 homes, double last year's rate. And that, say proponents, saves a lot of fossil fuel.
How long did that shit last?
The average cost of electricity would be just under 10 cents.
Lyndon Rive is the founder and CEO of the privately held company Solar City, in an industry that gets various forms of government subsidies, including tax credits and loan guarantees that make it cheaper for companies to borrow money to expand.
That's the same thing Joe Biden is doing now to kill the oil industry and promote clean energy. Next! This project will fail just like it failed the first time.
It went bankrupt this month, leaving taxpayers holding the bag for potentially $500 million in loans.
And we're going to get stuck with that bill, too, when it failed, just like we got stuck with the student loan when them sons of bitches failed to pay it back.
This isn't how the Solyndra story was supposed to end, despite a $535 million federal loan guarantee.
Nationally, solar employs 100,000 workers. Yet industry groups and leaders have seen trouble signs ahead for a while.
The solar company went bankrupt. The government was stuck with the bill, leaving many unanswered questions and a federal investigation.
The government didn't have no damn bill. The people did.
You're now under oath. And the $39 billion clean energy loan program became a high-profile target on Capitol Hill.
We may not see the loan guarantee program extended. We may see a major cut in federal support for clean energy research and development. There's going to be a major battle next year over extending some key tax credits for clean energy.
And it's about to be again once this investigation starts. Hey, Tom, Joe Biden is just following his daddy Barack Obama footsteps with clean energy. Tom, all you got to do is follow the money trail.
I want to know what the Solyndra failure means for the loan guarantee program. Was Solyndra just one bad bet, or is it the tip of the iceberg?
Clean energy stocks didn't go up until Joe Biden entered the White House. You notice I said entered the White House instead of president. Next!
On Friday, Solyndra executives were called to testify, but they refused to answer lawmakers' questions.
It's the tip of the iceberg.
On the advice of my counsel, I invoke the privilege afforded to me by the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution, and I respectfully decline to answer any questions.
Well, I refuse to do a video without mentioning James Touche donation. Hey, James Touche, I wonder what the executives that Barack Obama gave that money to had to hide.
Why so much scrutiny? In part because Solyndra was a clean energy favorite of the Obama administration.
The U.S. president has pledged to slash greenhouse gas emissions, and switching American homes and industries to solar power is a major part of the plan.
Despite its growth, solar still supplies less than 1% of American electricity. The troubled economy has hurt investment in solar, and competition from China has undercut U.S. sales.
The Biden administration wants this to rise to as much as 40% by 2035.
Those companies that cannot keep up with the innovation and reduction of cost, they will go out of business. But it's for the health of the entire industry.
So sacrifice some for the betterment of all. Ain't that a bitch? Solandra got all that money and then their ass collapsed.
And then this year came the collapse of Solyndra, a California company making cylindrical solar panels, a firm President Obama visited and touted in May of 2010.
Shovel ready, right here.
There are about 5,000 solar companies in the U.S. right now. Standard Solar, just outside of Washington, D.C., is one of them. And the industry says right now about 100,000 Americans work in this energy sector, doubling the amount of solar jobs over just the last 2 years.
The company found it couldn't compete with cheaper Chinese-made flat panels.
Solyndra cited competition from China for its downfall. Two other bankrupt solar companies, Evergreen and Spectrawatt, also pointed toward China's growing solar industry.
So it defaulted on a government loan of $500 million.
But the Chinese are also buyers. The solar industry says last year the U.S. exported more than $240 million of solar products to China.
The incident has contributed to a growing national debate on the value of green energy.
But jeopardizing that success, renewable energy subsidies are now under the congressional microscope.
Solar City's Rive is concerned that Solyndra's failure will make an embarrassed administration and a skittish Congress pull back on what he calls incentives.
Well, the solar power companies just got a few Biden bucks in that new Inflation Reduction Act so they can fuck up solar panels again.
If all the incentive disappeared, absolutely, that would be catastrophic for the solar industry.
Ask the oil companies about incentives disappearing.
House Republicans highlighted the Solyndra failure in a committee hearing last month titled How Obama's Green Energy Agenda is Killing Jobs.
Part 2 should be how Joe Biden is finished fucking up what Barack Obama has started.
The guise of green jobs has become a political rallying cry designed to unite environmentalists, union leaders, to consolidate an ideological-based agenda.
Created more than 1 million jobs. And it will help us triple our solar power, unleash American manufacturing to own the global market in electric cars.
This would be okay if, in fact, it produced the jobs.
Investing in our clean energy future is an enormous opportunity for every country to create good-paying jobs and spur a broad-based economic recovery.
And it didn't.
While the White House claimed that its investment in clean energy created 225,000 jobs by last January.
As I've said, you've heard me say before, and my colleagues as well, when I think of climate crisis, I think of jobs.
ISA charged the government used gimmick accounting in tallying green jobs.
And that's what the Build Back Better framework will do for the American people.
Around the country, conservatives have begun attacking the administration's support for alternative energy of all kinds.
It's also going to provide manufacturing credits to make sure the United States is competing in energy markets of the future like solar panels and wind turbines. It's also going to accelerate electric vehicles and electric school buses and build a nationwide network of 500,000 charging stations to power them.
You're going to make 500,000 in 10 years. You barely got 100 of them made right now.
In Sacramento, California, for example, conservative activist Eric Eisenhammer founded the Coalition of Energy Users to fight government spending on green power.
California is supposed to be the leader in clean green energy.
The green energy industry involves a lot of hedge fund managers who are making a lot of money off it.
Would you close down the oil
By the way, I
industry?
would transition from the oil industry, yes.
U.S. Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden's comments on oil at the final presidential debate of 2020 got Wall Street's attention on Friday.
And a lot of these guys are also making large donations to politicians.
With solar stocks rising after the former vice president said he plans to move the U.S. away from oil and towards a more climate-friendly economy.
And then they're getting these massive taxpayer-funded subsidies in return. But it's for an economic model that doesn't really pan out.
But Demon X212 economical model pan out every time he send one. Hopefully Demon X212 donations will help pan out my baby mama's funeral. Next.
It is a big statement
That's a
because
big statement.
I would stop
Why would you do that?
because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
Shares of some renewable energy companies, including Canadian Solar and SunPower, were up on Friday
I see.
Here's the deal.
after Biden said the U.S. should eventually replace oil with solar, wind, and other forms of non-polluting power.
Green energy is a few times more expensive than conventional energy.
As you heard in the last session, requires investing in innovation. That's why I've asked the Secretary of Energy, my Energy Secretary, Jennifer Granholm, who you saw earlier, to speed the development of critical technologies to tackle the climate crisis.
What crisis is you talking about? The natural order of nature?
So I don't believe that it really competes very well in a free market.
Clean energy is just as expensive, harmful, and political as gas.
But President Obama voiced his continuing support for green energy subsidies.
But
That's a big statement.
Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time. And I'd stop giving to the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies.
A lot of these small startups, they can get angel investors. They can get several $1 million to get a company going.
While Biden later clarified he didn't want to end the fossil fuel industry, but rather get rid of subsidies for fossil fuels.
But it's very hard for them to then scale up, particularly if these are new cutting-edge technologies.
That's the biggest statement.
Okay.
Trump immediately pounced.
Because
We have
basically
one
what he's
final
saying
question,
is he is
Mr.
going to
President.
destroy the oil industry. Will you remember that, Texas? Will you
Okay.
remember that, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma?
Vice-
It's hard for them to find private investors.
I'm also very proud to announce the United States is again becoming a key leader in mission innovation. We helped launch the program during the Obama-Biden administration.
And part of what's happening is China and Europe, other countries, are putting enormous subsidies into these companies and giving them incentives to move offshore
and get cheap products from cheap companies.
Since the Solyndra collapse, the administration has announced several new loan guarantees.
To fuck up more American money. Next! Joe Biden ain't got no blueprint because Joe Biden still ain't mentioning what he learned from his first failure on his first go around with this clean energy.
Biden said his plan for a transition to a more climate-friendly economy would create high-paying jobs and boost U.S. businesses.
Claiming green energy is a big job creator.
It's about jobs.
Go in and retrofit somebody's home to make it more energy efficient, there's a lot of jobs there. Put solar panels on the roof, there's a lot of jobs there. Make the chemicals that you need ultimately to make a solar panel, there's jobs there. There's a lot of jobs here to be created in clean energy broadly.
It's the fastest growing jobs.
Former Texas Governor Rick Perry, who served as Energy Secretary under Trump, said moving away from oil would kill millions of jobs, while Kendra Horn, a Democratic U.S. representative from Oklahoma seeking re-election, distanced herself from Biden, saying on Twitter that oil and gas policy is one of the places Biden and I disagree.
Hold on, so you agree with 187,000 IRS agents, school debt relief, and money to give the immigrants' family for being separated from their kids.
Riker sees tremendous growth potential for green energy.
And as we transition to a clean energy future, we must ensure that workers who have thrived in yesterday's and today's industries have as bright a tomorrow in the new industries.
So in other words, workers, kiss your job goodbye.
I think the government has a serious role to play, and I would hate to see too serious a pullback, particularly at a moment when the Chinese role is on the rise, when the German role is on the rise, when many other countries around the world are realizing the importance in terms of jobs and economic development of what will literally be a multi-trillion-dollar industry over the next couple of decades.
When we invest in climate resilience and infrastructure, we create opportunities for everyone. That's the heart of my jobs plan that I proposed here in the United States. It's how our nation intends to build an economy that gives everybody a fair shot.
Still, even some Democrats think the Solyndra debacle invites a cautious approach.
Certain Democrats knew Barack Obama plan wasn't shit, just like they know Joe Biden plan ain't shit.
California Treasurer Bill Lockyer heads a state agency that grants exemptions from paying sales tax to green energy companies. He wants to delay new exemptions.
We can focus on what we use right now, oil.
We want solar power. We want these jobs in our state. But let's do it smartly. Let's try to avoid these bad results like the Solyndra disaster if we can avoid it. Let's see if there's a effective way to do it that doesn't cost taxpayers money.
I wonder what new solar power company is going to be the new Solyndra.
People on all sides of the debate acknowledge that Solyndra's collapse has intensified the battle.
I think this has become a political football in Washington, and Solyndra has crystallized this in an unfortunate way.
Crystallize my ass, more like expose the fraud.
Both proponents and detractors of government support for green energy show little sign of backing down.
And now that Joe Biden is in office, let Barack Obama plan continue. Next! And with it, the plan to help out China.
The Biden administration has temporarily lifted tariffs on solar panels made in Asia. The move is in response to widespread delays and cancellations of solar projects stemming from a Commerce Department investigation into possible trade violations.
And if it's trade violations, best believe China has broke it.
The investigation is looking into whether panels imported from Cambodia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam illegally circumvented tariffs on goods made in China.
Hell yeah, China avoided all them tariffs by setting up shops in other countries. And Joe Biden is going to help them get around them taxes by relieving China of them same tariffs.
According to the White House, most solar panels in the U.S. are imported, and about 3/4 of those imports come from Southeast Asia.
Or you can say China.
So tell us why the administration decided to lift these tariffs.
Because Joe Biden is compromised.
Hundreds of millions, maybe billions of new solar panels will be needed. Where those panels will be built is at the heart of a controversy that has clouded U.S. solar developments in recent months.
Joe Biden solved that problem by China.
We were seeing the potential for significant layoffs, solar projects not coming online, grid instability as a result.
The White House wants to tackle climate change, but it also wants to foster a made-in-America green energy transition that brings solar manufacturing and jobs to the U.S.
We wanted to protect those jobs. We wanted to grow and spur our domestic economy.
From places like China that currently dominate the market.
So we provided a small window of opportunity, really, which is a 24-month bridge that's going to jumpstart our solar imports while we reinforce the integrity of our trade laws and those processes.
So we're going to lift the investigations on these countries for 2 years, even though they're under investigation for helping China. Ain't that a bitch?
So that 24-month window is not going to impact our commerce investigation. That will continue, but we wanted to make sure that new tariffs were not going to be imposed and we could jumpstart our solar sector once again.
By buying from China and not America.
To jumpstart domestic manufacturing, Joe Biden in June triggered the Defense Production Act
to help China sell solar panels to America at a cheaper, lower price. So I guess the border is not important, even though it's breaking numbers on crossings, getaways, and deaths.
It's a Cold War era law that gives the federal government added powers to galvanize domestic output of certain products in order to bolster national security.
When Trump helped America with the Defense Production Act, he had America produce ventilators to help Americans with the Wuhan.
The law, once used to turn out tanks and guns in times of war, is now being used to boost production of solar panels to combat climate change.
And fulfill Joe Biden's obligation as making China the #1 world power.
So, Advisor McCarthy, as you're bringing up, one of the criticisms of this decision is that the president's actions undercut American manufacturing.
Like Joe Biden give a damn about American jobs. If he did, he would have opened up the Defense Production Act to help Americans, not China.
But at the same time, Biden also issued a 24-month tariff waiver on solar panels made in 4 Southeast Asian countries.
That's going to hurt American solar panel companies and help China tremendously.
The move was a response to a months-long Department of Commerce investigation into whether Chinese manufacturers are dodging U.S. import tariffs by setting up shop in Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia, and Thailand.
So is they going to stop the investigation for 2 years too?
Those countries accounted for more than 80% of U.S. solar panel imports last year, and they're vital to many U.S. solar projects.
And vital to the China economy too. But the Joe Biden Defense Act will help China bankrupt American solar power companies.
First, how do you answer that charge, though, about the president even this temporary 24-month pause, how that affects not only the investigation, which I know the administration has said that they're not going to interfere in, but also undercutting American manufacturing?
That's the future, made in America.
American solar developers argued that the investigation had effectively frozen solar imports because of the threat of high retroactive tariffs.
So part of the problem that you were talking about with solar companies and the job insecurity that industry is facing right now is because of this Commerce Department investigation and the possibility of retroactive tariffs.
Hundreds of solar projects around the country were put on ice this year, and one forecaster said new installations could drop by about half in 2022 and 2023.
If the investigation concludes that tariffs were being circumvented overseas, how might that change the administration's solar plans, and what reassurances can you give to solar companies who are hoping to install these here in the United States?
None. Next! Don't make that bitch laugh like she did with gas.
Actually, what we really need to do, and what the president did very clearly, is to say, let the Commerce investigation go. Let's see what the Commerce Department looks at and finds. They will implement whatever action is necessary to take.
Which will do nothing if they find China is guilty. Hell, Joe Biden still haven't held China responsible for the Wuhan.
Advisor McCarthy, we only have a few more moments with you, and I really want to ask
a question about killing American jobs. You know what? Never mind. Next! We know why Joe Biden is helping China, because he's compromised.
The White House's approach has split opinion in the U.S. solar industry. Solar project developers have welcomed the move, but U.S. solar panel producers argue it allows China to continue flooding the market with cheap panels.
Meaning that built in America by Americans shit he be talking about?
Undermining the president's efforts to build the green energy revolution at home.
Is all lies. Special shout out to Sherry, who sent me a package through the P.O. box, who got my son every school supply necessary. He gonna be straight for the rest of the year. Thank you, Sharon. Also, thank you, Vanessa, the true patriot. Look, you're gonna love the video. I'm gonna put your donation in tomorrow. You're gonna love it, Vanessa. It's gonna be a surprise. Also, Joyce Variety Shop. Thank you, Joyce. John Swigler, the Swigler's always in the house. Larry McCray, I gotta keep up with your donation. Also, Big Lou, what's up with your Big Lou? Also, Andy Dillon. What's up with you, Andy Dillon? And last but not least, my executive producer, Beth Roberts.